I was at home sleeping, and my wife had to get up early.
Here in Sacramento, California, still in bed, listening to KFBK.
I was working at the bank in New York City at the World Trade Center.
Anyone who is alive and old enough to remember knows exactly where they were on September 11th, 2001.
Talking about an accident that happened in New York.
She kind of woke me up. She says, Harry, we should turn on the TV because I hear something on the radio about a plane crashing into the World Trade Center.
On that day, Peter Young was as close as it gets.
I was in Building 7. What I remember distinctly is that at 8:45, 8:46, the exact time, I heard a rumble of a jet plane coming at me. I was on the 22nd floor, the building's 47. As the floor of my building, you could hear the whining of the jet engines, the high, shrill sound. You felt the jet lash, and then it hit Building 1, and the explosion was big, and it shook my building violently.
That was when American Airlines Flight 11 struck the North Tower of the World Trade Center. And sadly, even though he was in San Francisco at the time, Harry Ong was close to the attack too.
I called my sister Kathy, who lives in Bakersfield. She said that Betty actually is supposed to be flying out that morning and meeting me in Los Angeles for lunch. I'm hoping not, that Betty's not on that flight.
But she was. Harry's sister, Betty Ann Ong, was a flight attendant for American Airlines and bravely reported the hijacking to the ground.
That particular flight that she was on, because she and my two sisters were planning to head off to Hawaii for a vacation the week later, she took that trip for extra money, but she was in the back of the plane working the rear galley. And it was from there that she made the first phone call, really, to alert America that the terrorist attacks were occurring.
At that time, in Sacramento, Chaplain Mindi Russell was listening to the events unfold on the radio.
So when the second plane hit the second tower, I was on call to respond for the American Red Cross, and my pager went off.
A few hours later, she was on a plane leaving from Travis Air Force Base.
C-5 Galaxies, escorted by fighter on either side of us, getting us to New York City, and we were the only plane authorized by the President of the United States to fly.
During that time, back in New York, right after the first plane hit, Peter called his ex-wife, who had taken their 6- and 7-year-old sons to school in New Jersey.
She had just dropped them off and walking along the riverfront on the Hudson River on the Jersey side, and she said, when I reached her, she said, "Peter, get out."
Not sure what to do, Peter said the workers on his floor in Building 7 waited. Then a few minutes later, a secondary explosion happened.
We said, we got to get out of here. I'm running down the stairwell with my briefcase. I was hugging the rails, literally running down the stairwell. Went through this long tunnel that opened up into the World Trade Center plaza to the open air. I planted my feet, looked up at Tower 1. The whole width of that building was wiped out, thick, ugly oil smoke coming out of that thing. It was an ugly sight. It was a scary sight. I didn't know when it was going to fall. I knew it was going to fall. At that point, I had to get to my family. Started to proceed walking quickly, and then I could hear from time to time the sound of something hitting the broken glass. So I did not bother to look. My focus was to go get home.
His quick action means he was able to get on one of the last few running trains out of New York City.
When I got back to my apartment at 10 o'clock, shortly after I got back there, I saw Tower 2 fall in front of my eyes. I saw Tower 1 fall half an hour later. This big, beautiful, magnificent building disintegrating in front of your eyes. I had to sit down and just collect myself a little, because it was a strange sight to see, knowing what was happening.
Peter stayed on his terrace, watching everything happen across the river, until 2:45, when he went to pick up his sons.
Their teachers had already come into to their class and said, "Who has parents working in the World Trade Center?" Of course, my boys raised their head. And as I pulled up in front of the school, my two boys came ambling out with their teachers. And the teachers said, "We're glad to see you."
That evening, Chaplain Russell made it to New York City and got right to work.
We finally got to the pier where 5,000 victims and 1,200 homicide investigators and 500 chaplains were what I was overseeing. The next 16 days was pretty much 16, 18, 20-hour days. And you know, during that time, you didn't really need a lot of sleep.
15 years later, those events are just as vivid as when they first happened. Each person knows where they were and what they felt. As for where they are now, Chaplain Russell is still in Sacramento, but 9/11 refined her purpose.
I was already a first responder to first responders, but I had a different cause. The dedication and the passion was so much richer, deeper, and I knew why I was born, is to serve people, to serve God by serving people.
As for Peter, a California native, he left New York in 2004.
I have my life in California back to where I wanted to be, in Foster City. So I'm in the San Francisco Bay Area.
He also lives with one philosophy in mind.
After 9/11, I said, gotta enjoy life as you live it. I could stay in my place and not have anything happen, but I want to continue to live.
Nearby, Harry Ong still lives in the same home.
We stayed in San Francisco because our mother, who's still alive, she lives here in San Francisco, so we take care of her, and there's just no way that we would be moving from San Francisco.
Being a San Francisco native, Betty was buried at a cemetery in Coloma.
Each and every day, we always have Betty in mind. There's a little moment of silence as I just drive by in memory.
But in the 15 years she's been gone, Betty's family has done so much in her memory.
My sister Kathy started the Betty Ann Ong Foundation in Bakersfield. Money that was raised through the foundation would be used for kids program for summer camps in Bakersfield for about 8 weeks, and in which low-income family kids would attend, and they can range anywhere from 90 to 150 kids attending. They would learn about nutrition and physical activities.
It doesn't stop there. In 2012, San Francisco Mayor Ed Lee named a rebuilt rec center in Chinatown the Betty Ann Ong Chinese Recreation Center, which has a special meaning to the Ong family.
Our entire family really grew up at the rec center. We grew up only about 5 blocks away. It just thrills my heart that people are using the facility.
And thanks to the foundation, the rec center can help others.
The Betty Ann Ong Foundation turned into another view of trying to help raise money to fund and equip the center. We've moved into an area where we support the programs of the Betty Ann Ong Rec Center, in which we help fund programs for the young children there as well as seniors. And we support them on Mother's Day and Christmas Day with presents. And then we also support some of the after-school programs because there are no city funds for those programs, and so that's what we're involved with. And so we hope to promote Betty's legacy in that way.
It'll be a location where memories are made and maybe even lives are changed, because locations have the power to do that.
People remember where they were on 9/11, but as we get further away, we have to determine in our heart that this is a day to remember. And I'm so adamant that our generation, or those that were there, absolutely need to keep telling the generations that are coming up how important it is to America.